Now, of course, presenting at 5 o'clock in the evening after such a long day, it's, well, everything has advantages and disadvantages, as we know. So, from one side, I'm sure the brains are very heavy now, and everyone's going to go to sleep. On the other side, will allow me to slip whatever I say without anyone noticing it. So, let me introduce myself. I am Khaled ElSherbini from Egypt. I'm the founder of an Enneagram school in Egypt called Enneagram Egypt. Very innovative, as you see. So it was actually the first Enneagram school in Egypt and the Middle East. I was blessed. I was used by the divine to present the Enneagram to the community. And over the last few years, since I started giving the Enneagram, it has spread extensively in Egypt, actually, and now we have many accredited teachers. We have a couple of accredited programs. We have also a couple of accredited schools. And our school has them all. I founded Enneagram Egypt with my lovely wife, Natasha, sitting back there, who's always supporting me. And we've been doing things locally. We've been presenting our own spiritual program. And we've also been blessed by having many of the let's say the foreign, let's say the great names of the Enneagram, those who introduced the Enneagram, we might call the founding fathers of the Enneagram, to come and visit us. We've had Russ, we've had Debbie, we've had Tom. In a few days we're having Jerry and others, and we're having Ginger. So many people now are blessing us with visiting Egypt, and I invite you all to come and visit the Enneagram Conference in Egypt in February. I'm sure it's going to be a great event, and I'm sure we have so much to learn from Dirk and from Integrative Enneagram. With really, I really mean it, the great organization they're having here. It's flawless. I really, what's it called, commend you. I really appreciate all the effort that you're doing. It's a magnificent conference, and I'm sure it'll be so until the end. So thank you all thank you for hospitality and everything. Today I'll be talking about the Enneagram through the names of Allah. And this is something that's just like the universe is unfolding step by step. I cannot say that I started my journey with this topic in mind. But my journey has been through so many disciplines, which only lately I realized that it was a journey of searching. There was always an inner call. Initially, when we were in our ego, in our separation, we always think that we're special, this is ours, this is mine. But then I get to realize that this inner call is the inner call of all creation. This is the inner call, as we'll see in Rumi's poem in a while, the inner call to the source, to the one, to the essence, to being, to the truth behind everything. I'm a PhD in mechanical engineering. I worked in aerospace, in designing and launching satellites for a while. I worked in renewable energy. I have a master's in renewable energy. I have a master's in business administration and MBA. I worked in universities for a while. I worked in R&D, corporate for a while. So I almost tried everything. And a few years ago, I had this very strong calling that what I always called the hobby of reaching out into philosophy and psychology, something I had no name for. I would call it sometimes awareness, understanding, and lately we call consciousness. And I believe really the right name or the right word is the mystery. It's searching into this mystery. This hobby was calling so strong a few years ago, about 7-8 years ago, that I just had to turn to it. It was no longer a fleeting look. I dropped all what I call my old world, and I just dived in. The voice was very strong. This voice inside was too strong to ignore anymore. The suffering was too big. Everything on the surface looked perfect. Success, university professor, director in companies, there was money, lovely family, everything was great, but there was a lot of suffering. And there was this fear and anxiety to let go. And this really needs that you listen. Listen to the voice inside. Listen and trust. Have faith. Just let go. and jump into his arms. I had a very strong signal, strong message at one moment. I don't know why it's coming me to say it now. At the moment when I was just wanting to let go, and I actually resigned suddenly from everything, and finally I resigned from my corporate work, which was giving me the salary that I'm living on, and it's as if inside me something was saying, I need a sign. But arrogantly, I was too arrogant to ask for a sign. I don't know if it was arrogance or what, but it was like, no, you don't trust until now, all this and you still don't trust. But I needed a sign. And I get into the car. I usually listen to books in the car. I couldn't. The noise was too much inside. If not a book, I listened to some calm music. I could not. I always say we have as much noise, we create as much noise outside as we have inside. And at that time, there was a lot of noise that I was trying to ignore. So I just turned on an iTunes radio channel, pop channel, and I just started the song. And it was a song maybe I've heard 100 times before. It was a song for Cyndi Lauper. And I never realized that the whole song was based on 2 sentences. It's just these 2 sentences repeating over and over again. And the 2 sentences say, if you're lost, you just look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I had been calling this a jump. I would just jump. And the message comes, if you fall, I will catch you. I'm there for you. Time after time. I just dropped into tears. And the journey, I would say, started from there. I went into several things, searching left and right, going into mindfulness, going into Sufism, going into philosophy, until I found the Enneagram. And the Enneagram to me was like this huge light bulb that just boom! That's it. And suddenly the Enneagram became this tool, this umbrella, this collective field of consciousness that inside it everything made sense. And I got to realize all these fields I've been going through my whole life, physics, chemistry, biology, engineering, history, psychology, all that just got integrated under this umbrella of the Enneagram. And immediately the first thing I saw was that we are just the reflections of the divine, of the essence. We are just the shadows of God on earth, as all the spiritual schools have told us. So my presentation today is basically under this topic. How I could see through the Enneagram, how I could realize through the Enneagram our message as divine beings on a manifest phenomenological world. And how the Enneagram and the spiritual teachings of the East and the West, of the past and the future, psychology, philosophy, the sciences of the future, and the books and the wisdoms of the past, all tell us the same message, and they draw for us a map. They give us the topography, and they give us the map, the path, and they give us the tools to follow that path. We just need to listen. And when we listen, we realize it was all in there. There's nothing new. We don't bring anything new. The whole thing is that we will be presenting a mystery in a language that does not support the mystery. The language of the mind, the language of the tongue. So that's why everything we say has to be taken and understood as a metaphor, from a consciousness beyond the simple words that we are presenting. It has to be understood from the heart. And I want to note from here on that when I say the heart, I do not mean the emotional brain. I do not mean the mental brain. I do not mean the gut-body brain. I mean that core, ephemeral consciousness that is inside every one of us, that is formless and that remains even after all forms disappear. So that is what I will mean the heart from here on in my presentation. After these realizations, step by step, they're getting together and the model is being built and the appearing step by step. And now I call this model the stages of the heart. I'm not here to present the model, I'm just here to present the first realizations that led to the model, the base for this model, in which I put the Sufi teachings with the Enneagram teachings to understand the matter. So, basically, the outline will include some definitions to some words we will be using from the Sufi tradition, and talking about how we are the shadows of God, the manifestations of God, and how we can find our way back home, and then presenting the names of God through the Enneagram, and that would be like a big part of the presentation at the end. Why do this? Through it, we are synthesizing the ancient wisdoms and the spiritual wisdoms with the modern sciences and modern neuroscience, philosophy, psychology, into a journey for humanity, creating a better understanding of the motivations and drives of each type, and what each type is actually, what the role and the mission and the drives behind each type actually are from a spiritual point of view. Understanding the human journey in a personalized manner, talking to each one of us, to our personal hearts, and developing a modern spiritual map of development, meaning, and purpose in life based on the wisdoms of the East and the West. Now, when I woke up in the morning, I was very calm. I thought I'm ready for the presentation. Everything is fine. My lovely wife is a 6. So she was panicking and she was like, how come you're not afraid? I'm not afraid. No, you should be afraid. No, I'm not afraid. And then I come to the lecture, and then the first lecture with Christy, she says, okay, relax. Now, what are you feeling now? And I relax. Okay, there's a bit of anxiety. Okay, my wife maybe is right. And talk about that. Then the next lecture I come to, which was the previous lecture, was about fear in the Enneagram. Okay, what's going on, guys? Why is everyone trying to frighten me? So halfway, I went to my room. I decided to meditate for a bit. And while sitting, I entered, I thought I'd close my eyes, and I found this beautiful view out of the window. So I just sat in front of the window, and the sun was on my legs. And just meditating a few moments, I could feel the transformation from this separate individual I that is frightened, that is anxious, that is afraid and contracted, into this beautiful expansion where you can see the sky, you can see the clouds, you can see the mountain, you can see the greenery, the birds were flying. And then hearing came in, and you could hear the birds and the running water, and then you just feel the oneness, expansion. And this was so beautiful. Just reconnect with everything. Remember that we're not separate. Remember that it's just one magnificent truth. And this is the journey of humanity. From this separateness, from this contraction, to this unification with everything. What the mystics always talked about, that you lose yourself in the one. The small I becomes one huge capital I that includes everything. So let's start with some definitions. And the important definition, the most important definition, would be the word Allah. This is the word Allah drawn in Arabic. And Arabic is a very calligraphical language. There's beauty just in the words. And this word Allah refers to the ineffable truth, the reality, the one. Now in Arabic, we have two distinct words for one. There is wahid, which means one like in English. It's the integer one, part of the 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have the word ahad. And the Quran says, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say, oh, Allah is ahad. And ahad is a unity with no multiplicity. Ahad is even shorter than wahid, and it's like combining everything into an essence. This is the mystery. This is the source. And Allah is an Arabic word. It is not an Islamic word. So the Christians use Allah. The Jews use Allah. Even the atheists say, we don't believe in Allah. So Allah is an Arabic word. It's not. And this is one of the big misconceptions that I see, that people believe that Allah is the Muslim God. No, Allah is God. But not God in the multiplicity sense. It's God in the unity sense. God without any other. That's it. Actually, the Sufis say it like that. God without other. And they do not put any definitions for other. There is no word after other. And they even always talk about detachment from the others, meaning anything other than the unity. And the greatest mystery of all, the mystery, the ocean that so many seas have fallen in, so many ships have wrecked into, the philosophers have always been debating about this unity becoming multiplicity, this non-manifest becoming manifest. And it is this movement from non-manifest to manifest, from complete unity to the experience of the multiplicity, that is the secret, the mystery. In the Sufi saying, God says that I was a hidden gem and I wanted to be known. Now again, remember the metaphors here. So I created mankind. I created humans. It is through humans that God appears. And in the Quran, Allah says that when He created Adam, He taught Adam all the names. Now, when this is taken from the gross materialistic level, people imagine this big white bearded guy teaching this little kid, look, remember, memorize. But from a Sufi perspective, this means that God installed in the human beings all His names, all His characteristics, all divinity was sparked inside this human. The journey of the universe has been a journey of evolving consciousness. And all the creatures, all the creation, not the creatures, all creation manifests some of the aspects of the divine. Yet it is in this human being, in Adam, that all the aspects of the divine come to manifest in the world. Yet we are finite, and the divine is infinite. And the finite can never include the infinite. That is why, though we include all the aspects, all the attributes, all the names, all the characteristics, yet each one of us, as an individual being inside the wholeness, is here to manifest a subset. These are the ones we are most sensitive to. These are the names and the attributes of God that we are here on a mission on earth to bring, to materialize, to phenomenalize, to create from the potentiality a reality, a being. And this is the role of the Sufis. Now, the word Sufi, though the origins are not known, yet people have tried to create what could it mean. Some of the words, some of the understandings, Sufi from the word Suf, which is wool, because they were the ascetics, they were the people who were humble and not into the worldly material. And other words. Personally, I like to believe that it is actually from Sufiya, the lovers of wisdom. And this because they took the word from the Greek and they started their initial learnings from the Greek and the mystical schools before them. And actually Sufi in Arabic, although specially means the Sufis of Islam, yet Sufi is also the translation for the word mystic. So any mystic in any tradition, in any religion, would be called a Sufi. So a Sufi is a member of a school that seeks to find the truth of the divine love and knowledge through direct personal experience. Anyone can go under this. It doesn't have to be Muslim. Though in the Islamic sense, it means a follower of a Sufi tariqah. Now, in the general sense, then I would say myself and most of the people, or all the people in the conference here, will be considered Sufis. From the tariqah sense, I wouldn't go under that. So just to put the classification, I do not follow a certain tariqah, but I am a person who is seeking the truth, just like maybe everyone in this room. And the Sufis have two branches within them. Those that are more towards the experiential side, and these are the more common, more known, and the Gnostics that seek the understanding and the wisdom. A true Sufi should balance and combine both. A true Sufi is one who has the knowledge and the understanding and the experience and the mysticism inside. Though as humans, and as the Enneagram teaches us, we tend to lean to one direction or the other. The direction of the body, the direction of the heart, or the direction of the mind. And by understanding the triads of the Enneagram, it makes us able to understand even the differences between the Sufis and between the thinkers, and why some of them incline this way and said this is the only right way, and others inclined the other way and said that is the only right way. So Gnostics versus experientialists, it is not a versus, it is an and, it is a unity, it is a combination. And the last definition I will have is the 99 names. Now again, depending on the level of consciousness we're talking from, and we will talk about these levels of consciousness, these stages of the heart, you get to understand these names in different ways. So, from a pure, gross, materialistic level, people think they are 99, and they start counting 99, and they start eliminating some, and fighting with each other. This is a name, this is not a name. They have to be exactly 99. But of course, 99 is a metaphor. And from the Enneagram, we understand that 9 is wholeness. And 99 refers to the wholeness of the wholeness. And the Sufis talk about the supreme name, the name that is unmentioned, the name that is unspoken. And the Sufis tend to say, as if this refers to this 100, this completion. This is the Ahad, the name of the One, the name beyond all names. So this is unity and multiplicity once again. Unity being the supreme name, the mystery, and multiplicity being these manifestations. So 99 is an expression of an infinite stream of characteristics that we can see in all creation. This beautiful picture of the mountain that I just presented has all the names of God in it. When you see the trees, and you see the mountain, and you see the sky, and you see the birds, and you hear the river, it's all there. The magnificence is all there. You can only say, Subhanallah. All glory and might be to Allah, the source of all this. So these are the 99 names. And the Muslims refer to them a lot. The Sufis glorify these names. They put them into art. They put them into chanting. They put them into all kinds of what we call dhikr. Dhikr is remembrance, is mentioning, is always having these names flowing through the heart, flowing through the mind, flowing through the body, flowing through the tongue. It's always having the names being evoked, chanting them, remembering them. And again, it depends on the level you are connected to the names. So the lowest level will be just having them on the tongue. The deepest level would be actually manifesting them, being the names. We will talk about these in a moment. So these are the 99 names. And they have many classifications, but most of the classifications of these names break them down into threes. Because the names themselves, and again, this is one of the things that the Enneagram and the law of three gave me the understanding of. And again, it's one of the things that's highly debated until you get to understand the law of three. That the names include pairs that are opposites. For example, Ad-Dar, I would be using the Arabic words a lot to bring in the energy of the word, but I will be translating them all. So Ad-Dar and Nafi', these are two names. Ad-Dar, he who brings harm. And Nafi', he who brings benefit and goodness. These are two names that come just after each other. And the names are timeless, spaceless. All the names are continuous, beyond time and space. These are beyond the manifest, beyond the formed universe. So God is Ad-Dar and Nafi', the harming, the beneficial at every moment. And again, this is one of the contended things in the Sufi path. You get to understand it in the law of three. That without one, you don't have the other. Once, as Ibn Arabi says, Ibn Arabi is one of the greatest scholars of the Islamic, of the Sufi path. And we'll be mentioning his name a lot, Ibn Arabi. So, Ibn Arabi, as he says, it is by going from unity to multiplicity that this threeness has to appear. The opposites and the balancing of these opposites together, which rises, brings up life to creation, brings up balance and harmony to creation. Al-Khafid al-Rafi', he who brings down, he who brings up. Al-Muhyi al-Mumit, he who brings life and brings death. So the names are all balanced in duos balanced by a trio. And even the names themselves, the Sufis break them down into three groups. The names of Jalal, names of power, names of might, names of having a significant effect on the world. And the names of beauty, Jamal. The names of beauty are the names of mercy, the names of compassion, the names of having a loving, caring touch in the world. And then there are names of Kamal. So they are Jalal, Jamal, Kamal. They rhyme in Arabic, and Kamal is the names of perfection. Those that bring balance again to the power and the might and the harmony and the mercy and the beauty. So these are the 99 names. And as humans, and as we said a while ago, as manifestors of the divine names, we have them all flowing through us, yet each single individual is sensitive to a group of these names. As we will see, each Enneagram type, breaking us now instead of 9 billion people into 9 boxes, each box in general is more sensitive to a group of names. But this sensitivity to the group of names defines our path on earth, defines how we are the shadows of God on earth. The central theme of all mystic traditions has been man is the mirror image of God, man is the shadow of God, is the reflection of God. God created man in his image. In Arabic, we do not have a gender-neutral pronoun. So when we say he, it does not refer to a masculine or a male. Even the masculinity and the femininity is understood to be balanced. So I know that right now in the writings it's very sensitive to the he and the she, but it has been tradition in all the Arabic writings to use he, although it's always known. This is not a gender thing at all. This is gender neutral, but we do not have that pronoun in Arabic. And we do not call God it. So, to have this shadow on earth, you need an object to cast a shadow, a ground whereupon the shadow should fall, and a light source to project the shadow. So this is how the mystics see this creation of the human being. With the human being the object created to cast the shadow, and the manifest world to receive the shadow, and the light of being. In Arabic, it is said that God created the universe when He told it, kun. Kun means be. And this is, as I understand in Christianity, the word. This is the source of creation, be. And it's this shadow that is created on earth, this shadow of God, as Al-Qashani says, without a ground, the shadow would remain potentially contained in the object. The ground, the tree, would remain in the seed. So it is this potentiality becoming phenomenological, this potentiality becoming reality, this potentiality becoming being through the human being. I love this chart from Ibn Arabi because it shows us what we mean by shadow. So the dot up there is the absolute. Now that is not God. That is the power of God. That is the will of God. That is kun. That is the force that created, that everything came out of. On a physical level, we would say that would be the Big Bang. But it is what is behind the Big Bang, the causer of all this to manifest. And this unity becoming multiplicity, its first multiplicity is the rays of creation, is the names of God, is the immutable essences, is the archetypal field of consciousness. And this is still in the formless. This is the first level of shadow of God. Now when this becomes in forms, created in forms, in a physical reality and a subtle reality, this becomes the second level of shadows. This is where humans and the manifest world exists. So according to Ibn Arabi, we are shadows of shadows. And then the world we live in, the world of strife, the world of fighting, the world of stress, the world of suffering, and the world of happiness, the world of possessions, this is the third level of shadows. This is even the shadows created by the sensible objects. So all we're wasting our life in, suffering, fighting, falling, is a shadow of a shadow of a shadow of the truth. And instead of finding our way back home, we lose our direction and go out. Now these three worlds, three universes, Ibn Arabi expressed in a beautiful way, in which I draw it like this out of my understanding of what he talks about. So this is the center. The center of the manifest world, the center of the circle of the Enneagram, the center of creation. And this is the truth, the essence. Now when we translate the word essence into Arabic, and I love the word essence, especially when you get the Sufi word behind it, we translate it into one of two words. The common one, which actually literally is not the correct one, we use al-gawhar. And gawhar comes from gawhara, which means the gem. It's like that precious thing that is in there, as if beside it everything else has no value. But then the correct translation is mahiya. And mahiya has two opposite meanings. It means the truth of the thing, but it also means mahiya, means what is it? Meaning that essence in Arabic would be translated into the mystery. It is the valuable part, the true part, yet it is also a mystery. This is the mystery that you can only discover from the inside. If you try to find it with any of these, you just get lost. You would fall into the shadows of shadows of shadows. You need to surrender to the mystery. You need to dissolve into the mystery. And it is through these divine names that the manifest world, the observed world, that the world of being and potentiality becomes realized. So this is the shadows of shadows, where humans stand, where the Enneagram, as described from the average levels of consciousness, stands. And then outside the circle is the world of non-being, the world of illusion, the world of politics, the world of economy, the world of sports, the world that disappears once we shut our eyes, and only the true essence remains. That is why it's a world of non-being. It is a fleeting world. While it is inside the circle that we find the reality, that we find the truth, on our path back to the essence, back to the source, from illusion to potentiality to non-duality. As if the circle represents the actuality of the potentiality of being. What maybe quantum physicists lately talk about is multiple universes. So the multiple universes, the parallel universes, would actually be worlds of potentiality, worlds that could have been, But the actuality, the one that actually becomes, is this circle that is represented by the 9 points on the Enneagram. And so the circle is a symbol of the divine determination from its first state to the actualized state. And that's why essence is the sun that keeps us all in existence. We are just rays of that original sun, of the original one. So let's talk about the cycle from unity to multiplicity and back. Now actually I'm enjoying that I have a 2-hour lecture this time. I usually either present all this stuff in 1 hour or I have a 3 or 5 day workshop. So 2 hours gives me time to actually expand a bit, not enough, but at least to give a base of what we're talking about. So what is all this? Now let's break this down into from unity to multiplicity and back. Initially, there is the non-dual, the one, the ahad. And the Sufis call this alamul ghayb, meaning the concealed, the mystery. This is before any multiplicity. And then kun, be, and it is. And the world appears, the world of multiplicity, through what the Sufis call alam al-ma'ani, the world of meanings. Meanings, it's the meanings behind all the forms. It is even higher than the causal. It is the essence of all. Here we have the names of Allah. We have what the Buddhists call the witness or the higher causal. Some people combine this with the following layer, which is the causal, but in the Sufi tradition it's very clear that this is beyond. This is even beyond what the Enneagram books talk about, the essential qualities. This is even the source of the essential qualities. And this level of creation, this level is pure cessation in the divine oneness, in the divine light. You have to drop the individual I to melt into this higher causal. And from it comes what the Buddhists call the causal and what the Sufis call alam al-arwah, the world of spirits. And here is the world of individuality. Here the spirit of everything exists. Now this spirit is a potentiality. Will it manifest or not? That is another thing. So all the spirits are the world of spirituality, of potentiality. And here spirits, again, spirits has so many meanings these days. So we're not talking about wine and beer right now. We're not talking about ghosts. We're talking about, again, the essence, but now not the essence of all. It is the essence of the smaller I. It is this thing inside us that makes us know that we exist. Dirk this morning was giving us this lovely video and this lovely presentation about a capital I and the small I, and all this confusion about, so what is it? Does the I exist or not? We know we exist, although we have nothing to find. We just go deeper and deeper and we find nothing at the end. This is all beyond the world of forms. This is again the rays, the closest we can say is this rays of light from the divine sun. And this is what appears. We're going deeper and deeper into shadows, into layers and layers of shadows of the world. And now comes the manifest world, the actual world, the potential world, the world that comes out. Okay, so all this is essence. All this is non-dual. All this is beyond form. Form doesn't exist yet. And now the first level of form is the subtle world. The world of thought, the world of emotions, the world of things that are related to this finite world, but do not have a mass. Do not take space and time. Where are your thoughts? Yes, neuroscientists try to tell us all these neurons firing, and no. This is actually the gross manifestation of the subtle. So each one is a manifestation of the one above it. The higher levels here exist without the lower levels. But the lower levels do not exist without the higher levels. Take away the spirit and the subtle and the causal don't exist. Take away the body, which goes away with its subtle. The causal exists, remains. So the neurons are just the reflection of the thoughts in the subtle, which are the reflection of the spirit, which is the reflection of the meanings and the names of God, which is the reflection of the mystery. Shadows of shadows of shadows. And this is called the subtle world, the world of being, the world of potentiality, the world of imagination, the world of creativity, the world of innovation, the world of meanings, the world of everything that is or can be or is not but could have been. And then finally we fall down to the gross world, the thick world, with its level of grossness. So inside the gross world, there are levels and levels and levels of grossness, levels of thickness, levels of vibrations, as the Buddhists like to mention it, from the higher vibrations going all the way up to the subtle, to the lower vibrations going all the way down to the solid earth or the atom or whatever physicists would like to call it. And this is the world of illusion, the world of non-being. Now remember, everything above this line is beyond the world of space and time. The spatial temporal world is this one. This is what remains. This is what is finite. Now this is we said the journey from unity to multiplicity. And now let's go back. But this was the general trip, the general journey. But going back up, we will take the individual journey. We will look at the individual self. The self that comes down in the Quran, and I believe in the Bible, and in the Jewish books, it all talks about Adam falling from paradise and having his journey back to paradise. And unfortunately, most of the books, it is described in a very gross way. A tree, an apple, nakedness. But again, from understanding this, we can start to understand the metaphors behind all this. We can see the human being in complete paradise. This is how I see it. Inside the mother's womb, there is no separate I. There's just complete oneness with everything. The mother's womb represents the whole universe, represents paradise. When the Quran describes paradise, it talks about إِنَّ لَكَ أَلَّا تَجُوعَ فِيهَا وَلَا تَعْرَى وَلَا تَظْمَأُ فِيهَا وَلَا تَضْحَى. In it, you do not have hunger, you do not have thirst, you do not have coldness, you do not have harm. And when I sometimes teach and I ask people, so when you're hungry in the womb, what happens? Oh, food comes to you. When you're thirsty, what happens? Drink comes to you. I don't know, that's a trick question. You do not get hungry in the womb. You do not get thirsty in the womb. The womb is complete paradise. Take the verses of the Quran about paradise, they all apply to the womb. And then Adam gets to drop from paradise and connect to the gross. And he starts taking the journey back up again. From identifying with the gross to identifying with the subtle, and then step by step coming back on the journey to unity. Now, everyone treks on this journey as much as they are allowed to go or they are meant to move. But this is the journey back to paradise. This is when the Quran talks about خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ. We created mankind. And it's beautiful, by the way, insan or mankind in Arabic, or humans in Arabic, the word insan is the same word for pupil of the eye, that which we see through, as if this is the eye which sees God. Man is the eye through which the universe sees itself and sees God again. It's the same word in Arabic. The Sufis touch on this. So it is this little child that is now identified or getting identified step by step falling from the paradise of union, of oneness, of completeness, and then getting to know his gross level, and then going back up again. It is through this that the levels of self that the Sufis talk about start to appear. Now, in the stages of the heart model, I actually include these levels of self from at least 10 different traditions. So I put the Sufis, I put the Buddhists, I put the Hindus, I put the modern psychological theories, I have Hawkins' levels of consciousness, I have Don Rizzo and Russ Hudson's levels of development, all crammed into one big thing that hopefully I'll have a table for soon I'll be publishing. But now we will only focus on the Sufi levels and how they relate to the divine names, and in a little while how these levels relate to the Enneagram. So this lowest level, the beginning level, the entry level of humans, once they totally identify with the gross level of creation, once they totally identify with the material manifest world, they live in what Ibn Arabi called a while ago the world of illusion, the world of non-being, the separateness. We are separate, and it's as if us against the world. And in this level, we are complete slaves. 100% slaves. But what are we slaves to? By the way, we're slaves always to something. But at this level, we are slaves to our desires, to our instincts, to our emotions, to our thoughts. We are so asleep that we cannot even realize, and we don't even have the capacity to realize how asleep we are. We are in complete autopilot. We are ruled by our physical entity, by our physical desires, by our animalistic side. The divine exists, and I claim that the divine exists. I know the divine exists. I worship God. But who is God? God is my desires. God is my ego. God is my separateness. God is supposed to listen to me. As we sometimes make fun of our lovely American friends and their dollar bill that has, "In God we trust." Of course, it's on dollar bill. This is God. Okay? So who is God? Yeah, God exists, but what is God? And in this level of consciousness, when we are totally stuck in this gross world, God obeys us. When we pray to God, we are actually ordering God. I want this car. Why don't you listen to me? I want to marry this beautiful girl. Why don't you give her to me? You said that you listen to the prayers of your people. You're not listening. This is not true. God has to listen to me. God has to obey me. God is reactive to my whims, to my desires. I cannot go beyond my limited self. And I define and describe everything in the world from this limited place, including the divine names. I am God's divine names. So if I am supposed to represent on earth the names of power, of justice, like the 8, but there's no place for God in me. My capacity is so tight. I am so separate that I have to carry this burden of might and power. And instead of strength and might and power and justice, I turn into ruthlessness. I turn into aggressiveness. I am trying to be that which I cannot be. Instead of channeling God's might and power, channeling these names of power on earth, I want to be those. I cut the connection, and now I lost that sense of connection, as if, as Almas likes to say, there's a big hole now. Losing this sense of name of God inside me, a hole is created and I have to fill it up. And regardless of how much power and might I try to give to my body, to my gross being, it is never enough. It's like, as we say in Arabic, drinking from the ocean. You're thirsty and you drink from the ocean, and what happens? You just get more thirsty. And you keep drinking and more thirsty. As if I become strong enough and powerful enough and controlling enough, justice will prevail. And what happens in this level of consciousness? The exact opposite. Just turns over. At this level, the divine attributes transmute into the passions in the emotional mind, the fixations in the thinking mind, and the instincts are abused and distorted as survival tactics. It's all about me surviving in this dangerous world. The divine attributes I take them over instead of allowing them to flow and reflect and come to the world through me. Now, in this level of consciousness, humans live in senses of grief, apathy, fear, shame, guilt, hatred. These and others, these are the affects that people live through. This is what runs inside us all the time. This is the world of war, the world of fighting, inner wars and outer wars, big wars and small wars. It's all us against the world, and we're all reactive. But then when we wake up a little bit, we move over the second level of consciousness. And again, this is again metaphorical. It's not steps, it's not levels. It's a complete, continuous line that we just move on. And we're never just stuck in one of these layers. Every day we're going up and down all the time. Don't imagine, oh, he's in this level, he's in this level, she's in this level. At every moment of our life, we're moving up and down. So we're just trying to draw a map here. And in this level, the level of the blaming self, النفس اللوامة, we still don't have enough energy to escape the powers of our fixations and our passions and our distorted instincts. We still don't have enough capacity to shine and manifest and channel the light of the divine, yet we have enough awareness to realize that we're stuck, to realize that something is wrong. We don't have enough capacity. We live in a world of desire, of anger, of pride, of what I call a world of striving. We want to be better, but we cannot yet escape the prison and the shackles. In the previous one, the commanding self, we don't even know that. We're just stuck, we're just reactive. We actually think we are right. This is one of the ironies of consciousness. The lower you are, the higher you think you are. And the higher you keep on going, suddenly you start believing that you are much lower than you really are. It flips. It's very ironic. As Bernard Shaw used to say, the problem in the world is that wise people are full of doubt and ignorant people are full of confidence. This is exactly it. When you're in the commanding self, the previous one, you are so blind that you believe you know everything. You're awake, as Gorgias used to say. When you go to wake up the sleeping people, they get angry. I'm already awake, I know everything, I'm the right one. In the blaming self, I'm starting to realize there's something better, but I cannot get there. I'm not free still. I'm still in the world of illusion. We'll draw all this with the Enneagram in a while. So I'm still in the world of illusion. I'm still reactive, but I have a slight sense of awareness of action and reaction and how the self goes. So what about the divine attributes here? The divine attributes start to separate a bit from me, and they start to be owned by this mighty figure up in the sky. I love to sing them. I love to dhikr, as we said for the Sufi. I love to say them, to chant them. It's lovely how in all our Egyptian weddings right now, it's now a tradition. You enter the wedding, as soon as it starts, they start chanting the 99 names of Allah in a beautiful song. And once they finish, everyone gets up and starts dancing and drinking. So it's as if it's just a tradition. It's something beautiful to say. We know that there's this mighty guy sitting on a chair up there with a big white beard, and he has these nice attributes. Love you, we love you, it's fine, now let us enjoy our life. So we're still claiming these names to us. but we're starting to be aware of something beyond us. But we cannot get there. So what is spirituality in that case? It is institutionalized religion. We don't have the capacity for spirituality. So we have to follow the elders. We have to follow the religious people. We have to follow those who claim to know. And this is the source of most extremism in any religion. It is this level of consciousness, where we want to be right. We said, here is anger, here is pride, here is desire. So we want to be right, but only we can be right. We want to be sure, and we don't have the capacity for uncertainty. This is one of the measures of consciousness, the capacity for uncertainty, capacity for a mystery. The truth is a mystery. The truth is not certainty. So, if I am different than you, one of us has to go to hell. And of course, in that case, we're both going to hell. This is the capacity of this level. They cannot take more than that. And this is what these rulers and religious leaders start to use to rule. Again, as we were talking, I was talking with Claudine outside, and she mentioned institutionalizing religion. This is what happens here. But again, the capacity of the masses at this level can only take that, can only take the institution. We cannot live without these institutions. This is what brings order and harmony to the society. This is what makes people follow a path until they can pass on to the next level or not. We have to all go through these levels. No one is better than anyone. It's just a journey. There is no destination, and there is no betterness. There is no comparison. Everyone is on his own journey. As one mystic once said, it's not about where you are. It's about how far you have gone from where you started. So you can never tell who's better than who. We don't know each other's journey. We can just have love and compassion and support for each other on our journeys, wherever we are and whatever level we are. So when you understand this, even when you meet someone who you claim to be a fanatic, stuck in the grass, and you start, and of course once you start doing that, you're just on the same level as them. So instead of that, when you realize that they are just struggling in their level of consciousness, you can have a lifting hand, a compassionate, energetic love to them that helps them and yourself move on the path. And then we go to the inspired self. And I call this inspired self, or what the Sufis call an-nafs al-mulhama. This is the self standing on the line of the Enneagram. This is the circle. Let's say this is the circle and the center is there. I'm standing on the line. The Quran talks about an-nafs al-mulhama. The Quran doesn't mention the levels. It mentions names and words, and we have to figure things out according to our understanding. That's why the understandings change as time goes on. So this nafs, the Quran says, nafs alhamaha fujuraha wa taqwaha. This nafs, God has inspired with its fujur, would be with its sinfulness, with its lawfulness, and its piety and light and high. So this would be the outside of the circle, the sinfulness, the lowness, and the inside of the circle, the light, the goodness, the truth. It has been inspired by both. And then the Quran goes on to say, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. He who purifies it, he who goes towards the truth, is succeeding, is in a path of success, path of truthfulness. وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. And he who goes to the other side, who takes it down to its desires, will lose. So this, I consider to be the level of the seeker, the level of the spiritual searching, the one who is looking for the truth. Sometimes getting it right, sometimes getting it wrong, sometimes following the light, and sometimes dropping back to the desires and the passions and the fixations, sometimes connecting with the holy ideas and virtues, and sometimes showing the worst we have of our type. We're standing on the line between being and non-being, between potentiality and illusion, and we move between both. The divine names at this level are things that we're entering now the subtle realm. So we can understand, we can think of these names, we can look at their manifestations. We're starting to sense the world of being. So we're starting to sense that these names have powers beyond us, that we are just manifesting these names. They can be thought of, understood, felt in the heart, analyzed in the mind. They are manifestations on earth and can even finally be attributed to a divine. In reality, not in tongue or just imagination. We really see a God that is calling us, that has these divine attributes. Moving on, we finally enter the circle. We are now in the world of being, in the subtle world. This is the fourth level. So we are halfway between essence and total illusion. We're in the middle of the path, but we have entered the circle inside, entered the light. And this is, let's say, the hope of every seeker to reach this, what is called the serene self. Mutma'inna means it's peaceful. It's the first level of peace. Even on the mystic path, we will see many levels of peace. This is the first level of peace, where you finally have acceptance, contentedness. You're content. Life is benign at last. Life is no longer maleficent. Life is no longer evil. Life is no longer dark. Life is good. You can trust God. You know that goodness happens in the world. You know that there is a supreme plan that you can rest upon. You're just halfway with all this, yes. Oh, the light is still to come. You're just starting to drink from the light. And at this level, the divine attributes are finally archetypes. When we say the names of God, we are talking about higher causal archetypes. A sense of understanding these archetypes and embodying them becomes possible. So now they are God's names, but they can channel through me. Separation still exists? Yes. I, small I am serene. I am calm. There's still I, living in a world, but feeling trustworthy. Channeling God's names, but sometimes attributing them to myself. It's still going on. The war inside is still happening, or the struggle. It's no longer a struggle. It's serene. It's calm now. So it's not. It's like forgetting and remembering. Forgetting and remembering. It's not a struggle anymore. Compassion and mercy start appearing here. And by the way, this is the first level that can truly grasp spiritual metaphors. The three levels before it cannot grasp spiritual metaphors. In the inspired self, we start to slightly touch it. But only here can we understand the spiritual metaphors. We start to understand them. Here we have a healthy human being, mostly in humbleness and servanthood to the divine will in the universe. Now, by the way, until this level, and even the next level, we do not have to be believers in a divine. It's not a must. Here you are what's called a mature self. You have cleaned up most of your darkness inside, and you can start to surrender to the will of God. And it's this surrendering to this universe that opens the door for the next level. It's when you are totally content and trusting that you can actually see the world as it is. And this opens the door for wisdom. And this wisdom is the source of all the intellectual and emotional gifts that humans bring to the earth. This is when you see the world as it is, not as you're supposed to see it. This is Copernicus and Galileo when they saw that we are not at the center, although we're supposed to see that we are at the center. This is Darwin when he saw the connection between all living beings. This is Einstein when he saw space and time are not how we see it. When we surrender how we want to see things, now I only gave, of course, examples from science, but again, you put this onto spirituality, and you start seeing the divine with his attributes as the source, not as you are the source. And that is the next level, the level of the content self. You are finally content. This is the level of love. What we call in Arabic al-ishq al-ilahi, divine love. This is where Sufi poetry comes from. This is where the poetry of Rumi, the poetry of Ibn al-Farid, the poetry of love in all the different mystic traditions. This is where you just lose yourself for the love of God. But you're just on the edge of losing yourself. You haven't lost yourself yet. You're in love. The problem with this level, again, there are traps at every level. The problem with this level is that the love flows so much to the divine that you get stuck in this feeling of love. Love in this case requires a lover and a beloved. And you are still the subject, and the beloved is still the object. And the love rotates, so God becomes the subject and you are beloved, you are the object. So there is still a duality. There's still a separateness, although you are melting. Now, one of the beautiful things here at this level, and it's mentioned in many traditions, not just the Sufis mention it, so even David Hawkins mentions it, Ken Wilber mentions it, many modern philosophers, you cannot enter this level without love of the divine, without belief in your heart. This is a level of divine effusion. It's as if the knowledgeable and the wise stop at the door. A beautiful metaphor by one of the Sufi scholars of the 20th century. He's called Sheikh Sha'rawi, his beloved. He's a very simple person, but he was very knowledgeable and had a lot of energy. He gave a very simple metaphor for the common people here. He said the mind is like a mount, a horse or a camel or a cow or something you ride. It's very important. If you're lost in the desert, okay, he's Egyptian, so we have a lot of desert. So if you're lost in the desert, you need a mount. You need a horse to ride to take you to the door of the castle of the king. Without that mount, you will just die of thirst in the middle of the desert. But once you are at the castle, at the big, huge doors, you don't enter with the horse. What happens if you go to the king and just hit the door and enter with your horse? Off with his head. Off with what? With his head. And that's why when you enter to the king, you tie your horse outside, you unmount, you bow your head, take it to the ground, and you enter humbly to the court of the king. This is the role of the mind. The mind takes you all the way up to the serene self. But now you have to unmount from your thoughts and emotions and sensations, and humbly move into the court of the king with your heart, with your spiritual heart, taking your mind down to the ground. So divine effusion is essential to enter into the presence of the divine. That's why this is limited to the presence of the divine, to his lovers, to his servants. The divine effusion flows into the spiritual heart. The divine names are now essential qualities. By the way, until the serene self, the one that was just before this, the divine names are what the Enneagram community calls the holy ideas and the virtues. The holy ideas and the virtues are ideas. They're still in the mind. They're still, you see the beauty. Yes, we talk about them in the Enneagram. Oh, the holy ideas. Yes, but they're stuck in the middle. They're still ideas. And virtues are still flowing from me. There's something I do, there's something I act, they're just happening through me. But they're still limited to me. Even those I have to surrender to enter into seeing the archetypes, the essential qualities. Remember, we're going back again. From unity to multiplicity and back. So, the divine names are essential qualities that are the causal forces behind all the manifest phenomenological world, opening the door to knowing the mystery and loving the one, the source, the God, the truth, whatever you call. This is the door opening up and you fall in love. And even this love you have to surrender. Even this I. And this is what the Christian mystics call the doorway to the dark night of the soul. Because even this love has to be surrendered to complete annihilation, complete cessation. The I has to drop into the ocean of love. This little drop that's loving the ocean has to fall into the ocean, melt in oneness, and become gratified. Now, the previous self in Arabic is called nafs radiya. Radiya means content self. I am content with you, O God. And then this next word, mardiya, radiya and mardiya have the same root, which is contentness. But now the source of this contentness is God. Instead of I am content with God, I believe in God. No, it's like God believes in me. It's like the ocean embraces me. And the I cessates. This is the level of bliss, the level of joy, the level of union. The incredible thing is that the human is the only creature blessed of being in union and knowing that they are in union. This is a totally different knowing. There is no separate I, yet there is a consciousness of this union. This is what the mystics talk about when they say, I become one. There's a paradox in this world, in this word. I become one? Yeah, there is no I anymore, but there is no word to describe it. I become God. Abu Mansur al-Hallaj, one of the famous mystics who was lost in ecstasy this level, was actually killed because he went around saying, I am God. Everything is God. I can only see God. Look, inside this vest is God. This is complete union. But then the language doesn't help. This is where we see the mystics start, they frighten the masses by what they say. That's why they either push them away or kill them, or if they can pass this initial level of ecstasy, of non-functioning, entering this level, there's a period of non-functioning. The Arabic word is magdoob. They look as if they're crazy, as if they have broken the norms. But this is usually temporary. It can become permanent, but it's usually temporary. And if they can survive this temporary period, they need these loving people around them to hold them until they can stabilize and come back with effusion to all those around them. And remember that these are high energies. As Hawkins likes to say, one person at these levels can balance the darkness of millions. He has a beautiful statement where he says, people reach levels where they can walk on earth for a few years and change the face of earth for thousands of years. We all know of the great saints and the great prophets and the great messengers and the great energies. And these are just the ones we know. And there are multitudes of those whom we do not even know about. Their energy was just their existence on earth. They changed the earth just by being. They don't have to do anything. It's their being that changes the earth. This was the 6th level. Is there anything still beyond that? So at this level, certain aspects of the divine attributes are now manifest in the seeker. Now we manifest these names. We don't do anything. We are these names. We are the names of power, the names of peace, the names of righteousness, the names of nurturing and care. We are the names of creation. We are the names of beauty. We are the names of wisdom. We are these names. We are the names of aliveness. We are the names of freedom. We will see all these names. We just become these names. We are these names. We just manifest these names on earth. Each individual expressing different attributes, while the sum of all creation is the shining rays of the sum of the light of the divine. This is the unity of all creation. The one is all of us. The one cannot lack any of us. Just like the rays of the sun going through a prism and breaking down into multitudes of frequencies, infinite colors. But to bring back this pure light, this pure transparent light, you need all these rays to come back into the prism. Take out any one of them, and you get a deformed light on the other side. This is all of us shining the divine inside us. And then finally, the perfect self, or the pure self, has many names because it has many subdivisions inside. This is beyond cessation of the I. This is what the Sufis call the cessation of cessation. You don't even know that you have dissolved in the one. You are the one. These are very high levels, very high energies. And in this, you become these divine names, unindividuated state of purity and perfect harmony, complete cessation of the individuated being, cessation of cessation, or what Ibn Arabi calls the 0 point. This is the center of the circle, without which there would be no circle. So back to our chart. We had these 3 before. Now let's put back on them the selves. So these are the gross level selves. The inspired on the line to the subtle, and then the serene living in the subtle. The level of the saints, the level of the higher mystics and the prophets and the messengers, and the level of completeness, the level of oneness with God. Now, how can we put these on the circle of the Enneagram? The first 2 levels, the complete and the gratified, are at the center of the circle. This is essence. This is ephemeral. And then we have the content and the serene, being the content being the borderline between being and essence, and the serene at the center of being. I'm just drawing the previous table. And then we have the inspired self, which we said stands on the edge of the Enneagram, and then the outer levels of the blaming and the commanding. And why did I draw the commanding like this in dotted lines? Because actually all this is the world of illusion. It goes on forever. So where would the Enneagram be here? Where would the circle of the Enneagram be? We said E, the inspired self, stands on the circle of the Enneagram. As if these selves are outside, controlled by passions and fixations, distorted instincts, slaves to the material world, the gross world. And then these here, this is the world of wisdom, of contentness. These are the holy ideas, the virtues, the working on our instincts, our desires, being mature human beings that give to the world much more than they take from it. This is the level of suffering and causing suffering. This is the level of goodness and benignness and bringing goodness and benignness to the world. And then this is the level of truth, the level of unity, the level of essence, the level of cessation. And our journey, whatever our type is instead of looking outside, so the Quran says, as if again we're standing on this metaphorical circle here, مَنْ أَعْرَضَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكَ. And he who gives his back to remembering me will live in suffering and darkness. This is what the Enneagram shows. You're putting the circle behind you, you're standing at any one of these dots of the types, you're giving your back and you're living in the world of illusion. And all you will ever have is illusion. And in another verse, أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ, again using the word dhikr, by remembering Allah, تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ, you will have those serene hearts, you will have those calm hearts. So this is the journey here on the circle. The journey back home. Now, before I go to the Enneagram and the names of God on the Enneagram, any question or anything else to say? We have a few minutes before we move on to the names themselves and the types. Or should I just go on and have the questions at the end? Okay, let's move on. So, the previous part of my presentation, let's say, was the presentation part, the mental part. But this coming part is purely energetic. In combining the names to the types, we found that many names go with each type, and some names even have so many varied meanings that they can go with more than one type. So what we did in our research is we chose 3 names that mostly represent the type, or actually that the type mostly represents. 3 names that go with that. And it was incredible actually when I was doing this to see that some of these names include very different meanings. Yet all the meanings, regardless of how different they are, all of them fall under the type. And one of the very evident ones will be here in type 8. So for each type, for each name, I give the name in Arabic. I will read it in Arabic, and then I will give a slight 1-minute description for the name. So this very interesting name, Al-Jabbar. Al-Jabbar means the mighty, the powerful, the compeller, the one that controls and compels everything to follow his order and follow his rule. But by the way, interestingly, the same word in Arabic, Al-Jabbar, which comes from this might and power, also includes in it a very soft, calm word, which means when something is broken, to fix it. When something is weak, to bring it together. When a bone is broken, we put jabira from jabbar, meaning to hold it together. It includes in it this sense of, I cannot see something weak or broken and leave it. I have to get it back in its shape again. So this is this name, a name of power, a name of might, a name of influence, yet also a name of taking care of the weak, taking care of the broken, bringing it together. Al-Qawi, the omnipotent, the one of complete power, the possessor of all strength. And Al-Aziz, this is another beautiful name with a very interesting meaning in it. It is not just almighty and strength, as the books usually put it. It is actually a marriage of strength and self-worth. Al-Aziz means I can never be broken. Yes, my leg is in a cast, I'm standing on 2 sticks, but I am still Aziz. I'm still strong and I can do it, and I can stand for myself. There's self-worth in it, there's dignity in it, there is pride in it. I cannot be broken, you cannot take me down. So Al-Aziz for Allah is that which has all the might and power and worth and strength no one can overcome. Al-Aziz, Al-Qawi, Al-Jabbar. Now, by looking into the levels we have seen from unity to multiplicity and back, we can either be God's might and power and strength and honor and dignity on earth, or we can disconnect and try to have the might and the power. And interestingly, once you try to be that power, you try to be in control, you lose control. Once you try to have this honor, you become ruthless. You become unloved. But what happens to types 8 when they evolve and when they actually become these names? They become humble. They become soft. They're beautiful, as my lovely friend Casper always says, their beautiful marshmallow heart starts showing. They're not afraid anymore. They're just passing these names, passing this power. And in their humbleness, in their softness, in their tears, they cry and cry and cry. Do they lose their power? Do they lose their might? Or they become even mightier than before? Omar, one of the names of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, he was a very clear type 8. I mean, when I tell people to study type 8, I go and tell them, read the biography of Omar. It's very well written, one of the best biographies written, from his very early days to the days he was the ruler of the Islamic Empire after the death of the Prophet. So we see all his levels of consciousness happening. When he was young, he was this ruthless killer that would beat up people, would do anything. He even one day went and beat his sister just out of fear for her. You know, the 8s, when they can harm their loved ones. And he grew up to be this humble, trusting person that didn't even need any convoy with him to protect him. He just rules the nation and lies under a tree in trust. Did he lose his power? Even in his last days, the Prophet would tell him, Satan himself would fear to pass through a road that you pass through. Meaning, you're so powerful, no energy of evil can ever face you. But he was known to have channels on his eyes from the tears he had. He's no longer the powerful one. He is the representative of the divine power on earth. He's the channel of the divine energy. You see the 8s and they just take the air out of the room with their presence, regardless of their consciousness level. This is their gift to the world. This is their mission on earth, to bring these names to manifestation. Type 9. And of course, the first name is As-Salam. As-Salam, peace. Allahumma anta as-salam wa minka as-salam. Oh Allah, you are As-Salam. You are peace. And from you comes all peace. This peace comes to us through the 9s. The 9s carry this energy of peace. Just love to be around them. Just love to go, you know, they just come anywhere. Do you realize how the energies of the types manifest, regardless of their consciousness level? They just bring this energy with them. This energy of people surrounding, source of peace and harmony between people. I don't have to Salam, the peaceful one, the source of all peace. Al-Halim. Al-Halim is forbearing, it's patience with mercy. It's not patience like, okay, I have to wait. No, it's patience and mercy. Okay, it's fine. I will wait. I can endure this. I can take it and even be nice to you. Be kind to you. There is no vengeance. There is no intention in my patience of revenge. There is no mischief in my patience. There is pure love and peacefulness in my patience. There is forgiving. There is forbearing. There is a veil of shelter coming from the eyes. It's also, by the way, the subtle. And then Al-Latif, the subtle. Al-Latif means very, not just subtle, very, it's a kind of light kindness, light-heartedness. It's a kind of softness, softness in energy, softness in presence. When we call Allah Al-Latif, we mean His energy is all around us, even if we don't see it. Remember the level of subtleness? It is in the world, but not of the world. You know it's there, but you cannot grasp it. This is the energy of the nine. They have a tendency to be invisible, yet they affect everything happening around them. As-Salam, Al-Halim, Al-Latif. Type 1. Type 1 takes the name Al-Quddus. Al-Quddus means a name of so much purity that there is no flaw that can ever be found. There is holiness, but it is divine holiness. There's nothing wrong at all within it. Pure from any imperfection. There's correctness, there is straightness. There is being beyond anything bad. Al-Hakam, the judge, the arbitrator. Hakam is also the discerning power. The power of separating the good from the bad, the right from the wrong, the dark from the light. It is this line of discernment. It is the discerning wisdom. It is a pervasive precision. And Al-Hasib, the accounter, the reckoner, the one that accounts for all meanings. Nothing goes unrecorded. Nothing is ever lost. There is full responsibility for my actions, and everyone takes full responsibility for everyone's actions, and everything is reckoned and everything is counted, but with honor and dignity. Straightness of the one. These are the energies, their gift to the world, these lights of God. Al-Quddus, Al-Hakam, Al-Hasib. Type 2. Type 2, the first name, and again one of those very interesting names that have different meanings that all flow into the two. Al-Wali. Now, Al-Wali can mean the special friend, not any friend. That one special friend that is always with you, always supporting you, always taking care of you, always knowing what you need. Al-Wali. But Al-Wali at the same time is the governor. When a governor holds a country or a nation or a city, we call him Wali al-Amr. The parent of a child is called Wali al-Amr, the Wali. As if, yes, I take care of you, I see what you need, but I also govern you. But I also see your steps and control your steps. It is, I am so caring for you that I don't let you go off the track. That I have you under my eye, never getting out of my... So, the special friend and the governor, the one who realizes deep and intimate relationships with those he has a relationship with. Al-Wadud, the affectionate, the loving, constant embracing with affection. The one who desires good for all mankind and everyone around. Al-Wadud means the one that always asks about you, always knocks on your door. Yuiddak in Arabic means cares for you and asks about you. Al-Wadud. And finally we have Al-Wahhab, the giver. He whose treasures are never empty. His treasures are infinite and he gives from them with no fear of running out of any treasures. There is no accounting. There is no counting or accounting. There's just pure giving because he is infinite. Al-Wali, Al-Wadud, Al-Wahhab. Type 3 starts with Al-Khaliq, the creator, the one who gives a constant energy of creation. Now remember, we said the names of God are continuous, are never ending, are ceaseless. So it's as if this name of creation, that God is in a continuous state of creation. In every moment the world is being created again and again and again. There is continuous value being added to the world. There is continuous growth and emergence in the world. And the 3 is the source of this creation, the source of this emergence, the source of this growth that's happening in the world through channeling and being the name of the Creator, Al-Khaliq. And Al-Zahir, the manifest, the exalted, the clear, the evident. We say in Arabic, Al-Zahir, the evident, is not the shining star among the stars of the sky. Al-Zahir is the sun. When it comes out, all the stars disappear. This is the light of God. When it comes, all other disappears. And this zuhur is what the 3 manifests by shining their existence to the world. Manifesting how our individuation is so precious that we have to shine it to the world. And Al-Ali, the sublime, the one of excellence, grandeur, admiration, awe, highness. These are the names of God that manifest through the 3. Al-Khaliq, Al-Zahir, Al-Ali. Type 4. We start with Al-Badi'. Al-Badi' is the unequaled and that which creates, but not like the creation of the 3, continuous creation. No, this is a creation of something that had no like before. It is so different that it comes out of the mystery. This is Al-Badi', unequaled originator, finding that which did not exist before, with no pre-existence. Al-Haq, the true, the real, the authentic, the truth, the one, the origin, that which is beyond any fakeness or unrealness. Everything is real and true. And Al-Bari', originator of individuation, creator of order, creating in a manner free from faults and inconsistencies. Nothing is missing, nothing is wrong, all the depths are evident and clear and correct and flawless. Al-Bari', Al-Badi', Al-Haq. Type 5. Al-Alim, the omniscient, the knower of all, the inner knowledge, the outer knowledge, the esoteric, the exoteric, the seen, the unseen, the manifest, the unmanifest. And with the name Al-Alim, the Sufis have a very beautiful description that fits the 5 very well. Al-Alim knows what is, knows what is not, and knows that which is not, if it were, how it would be. This is omniscience. Al-Hakim, ultimate wisdom. It's not just knowledge, it's correctness in knowledge. Wisdom of experience, balance of experience and harmony and knowledge and understanding. Correct in all doings and all beings. And Ar-Raqib, the observer, the watchful one, the one who's nothing he can ever miss or ever ignore, observing closely and constantly to everything. Nothing is ever absent from his watchfulness. Al-Alim, Al-Hakim, Ar-Raqib. Type 6, Al-Mu'min, the author of safety and security, that which protects and brings safety and security. But interestingly, the word also in Arabic means the one who has faith in you. It's like a trusting faith. So protects you, makes sure you're safe, but also has faith in you and gives you the trust. Both meanings come under this. Author of safety and security, provides trust that is free of fear, free of deceit, full of confidence and security to the body and the heart and mind. Al-Mani', the preventer of all harm. Protection, divine protection, guarding against any inner or outer attacks, guarding against any inner or outer doubts. And Al-Hafiz, the preserver, the protector, that which is so awake that nothing small or large he will ever miss. He gets it all. Al-Mu'min, Al-Mani', Al-Hafiz. And finally, type 7, Al-Fattah. Al-Fattah is the starter, the one that opens the doors in continuous opening of the doors of mystery, the doors of the unknown, the doors of the world. Great power to clear the way of any obstacles and open the path for all those to follow. Continuous action of accomplishing, opening new doors. Al-Wasi'. Wasi' is so, how would we say, capacious, such a huge capacity that the capacity can include all and everything, all comprehending, all embracing, all holding. Everything is huge. Al-Wasi' means very big. And a capacity to contain all space and time, all existence within. And finally, Al-Muqaddim, the expediter, the one that brings the future to the now. The one that brings one leg into the future. Al-Muqaddim, come on, bring the future in. Let it come. Expedite things. Rush things. Hurry things. Let things happen. Have a divine plan to continuously move things forward into the future. Al-Muqaddim is the remedy for any impatience within us. When we channel Al-Muqaddim, we can just calm and watch things unfold. In the modern philosophy, we would say he's the unfolder, unfolding the future to come. Al-Fattah, Al-Wasi', Al-Muqaddim. Now, if you allow me a 5-minute meditation, where we will just sit in calmness, find comfortable pose. Spread your backs. Close your eyes. And breathe. Feel the energy of the air coming in, touching the nose, feeling the chest. Sense the body. Feel your body. What sensations are in your body now? What emotions are inside you? What thoughts are flowing within you? Breathe in, observe your sensations and emotions and thoughts. Breathe out slowly. Now, who is observing those emotions and thoughts and sensations? Who is it that is looking at these? What subtle observer is there inside? When you see the observer, now observe the one observing the observer. The cause of this observation. Free from the emotions, free from the thoughts, free from the sensations. And as the observer of the observer of the thoughts and the emotions and sensations looks towards them, sense the energy and the light of the divine flowing through that observer. Sense the names of God, light rays from the divine sun, flowing from the eternal energy to the heart of the observer, to the heart of the observer, to the body of the form. And as I read these names, feel their energy flowing from shadow to shadow to shadow. Al-Aziz, Al-Qawi, Al-Jabbar, Al-Salam, Al-Halim, Al-Latif, Al-Quddus, Al-Hakam, Al-Hasim, Al-Wali, Al-Wadud, Al-Wahhab, Al-Khaliq, Al-Zahir, Al-Ali, Al-Bari, Al-Badi', Al-Haq, Al-Alim, Al-Hakim, Al-Raqib, Al-Mu'min, Al-Mani', Al-Hafiz, الواسع المقدم الله الله الله. Embrace this energy in your heart. Feel it within you. Connect to the truth. As you come back, carry this light within you forever. Thank you all. I hope I haven't gone too much knowledge and detail. It's a typical 5 overcomes sometimes. But please, you're welcome to connect with me at any time. My blog is enneagram.com/blog, and you'll find the articles that I write, and most of what I talked about today is included in these articles, and the names are there. You can reach out to my school on Facebook or to myself. You can email me, you can WhatsApp me. Don't try to call me, I really don't answer. I try, I hope that won't run. And this picture here is with my lovely wife, co-founder of Enneagram Egypt, Natasha, and with Dirk and Sean, who are behind this magnificent effort. And once again, I thank you for all this, and I thank you all for bearing with me.